All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, September 17th. I'm Linda. I'm here with Michelle, and today we are we are talking about the topic of protection. Lord, protect me and all I care about. Man, such a fitting topic, I think. I was just having a heart-to-heart discussion with myself this morning about COVID and the mask and the ridiculousness of lots of things, as well as the really important stuff of lots of things. And it just reminded me, I was thinking about, the differences in people and the beliefs and the perspectives and the thoughts about mask versus no mask and all of these things. And, businesses open up and businesses failing and all of this. And, it's just, there's never any right answer except the one right answer, which is to put your faith in God and just remember that he's in control. And another friend of mine had pointed out, several weeks ago that they felt like they could tell like who the believers were because they didn't care. It's like, it is what it is. It's like, it's not such a pressing issue to try and stuff on a mask all the time or to try and do whatever I can to protect myself. And it doesn't just have to do with illness or mask. I think it has to do with with anything, not worldwide, but worldwide topics that, that people who recognize that ultimately we're not in control doesn't mean that we can't have an influence, but that we're not in control seem to have less focus or expend less energy on the things that they can't control. And while we can all control whether we wear a mask, you really have no control over whether or not you're going to get this illness. I mean, unless you go out and forcibly give it to yourself, because then you're not following God's will. But, it is what it is. It's not something that I ever really even think about too much. Is, what if God gives it to me, then that's what it's supposed to be. I think it's easy for me comparatively to have that kind of attitude or approach because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with my mother and father and aunts and uncles and grandparents who, it's not that we don't have fears or fears of being sick or fears of dying or fears of being in an earthquake or a hurricane or a flood or anything else. They're very real fears, but we don't waste energy and lose our minds over trying to control things that we don't control, that we can't control. And so what do you do? I am curious. I know what I do, but what do people do when they know they don't have control, but yet have to live with the fear? What do you think, Michelle?
Well, I think that that's a very easy starting place for people to grow anxious tendencies. I've witnessed that a lot in various different people throughout my life. Because it's hard, it's especially with it's something with your health and your body, like your body better than anyone else because you live in it day in and day out, right? So you feel like you should have control over what happens to it in your health, and in some capacities you do have influence of that, but complete control over exactly what's going to happen or different diagnoses that you might have throughout your life. We simply don't have control over that. So I don't know. I'm with you. I think I have been able to maintain a lot of peace throughout this process as it's kind of developed because of my faith as well, and just continuing to pray for health and just for peace and patience throughout this whole process. So it's hard for me to see other people who are so anxious about it and really feel negatively about not having control over it.
It is tough. I think that's caused me to just pull back a little bit from some of the people that I was more closely associated with prior to this, because I can't, personally, I can't handle that anxious energy. coming from them, but obviously I'm there if they need me. And, I've had many of them reach out to me, and especially one I remember, and this person reached out and they're like, I need help so bad. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I haven't left the house. I've worn my mask. We're even wearing the mask in the house if we go out, just all of these different extreme measures. The kids haven't been around other kids. We haven't let our kids go out of the house, and this and that. And then this person got COVID for like 5-6 weeks, like I did, and was just feeling the effects of it. And again, duration has nothing to do with intensity. You can have symptoms for 6 weeks and still function completely fine, right? There was only, a few bad days for this person, kind of like it was myself, but you still don't know whether or not you're infected. Whether or not you're contagious or this and that. Plus, you don't know where you got it. So because this person was the only one in the household to get it, then their spouse blamed them for putting all of them at risk, because their spouse was crazy and anxious too, putting all of them at risk. And, just it created such marital strife. And this is one of those couples that, they get along really well, like best friends, always have this and that. But the spouse definitely has high anxiety. And you know what? When you choose not to manage certain things like anxiety, you're going to eventually get hit with situations that really are out of your control. And that just seriously intensifies that feeling of anxiety. And it comes out in anger, aggression, and frustration, because it's all related to fear, and like grief, fear does all kinds of crazy stuff to us. Right? And so, my friend was like, I don't know what's going to happen after this is over with, because I feel like I've seen the true colors of my spouse. And this is someone who agreed to marry me for better or worse in sickness and in health. And my friend said that basically she was confined, but not confined, to one small section of the house because their spouse did not want that person to infect the kids and the rest of them. And, was constantly, wanting to know what she did wrong in order to get this, did she not wear her mask going out, things like that. And, I just said, well, it is what it is. It's nothing nice.
Yeah, that's super hard. I think it's challenging to do this.
And let me tell you what, this is a spiritually based, go to church family.
Wow.
So
it is interesting to see how people react in different times of stress, and what their tendencies are. But I don't think it's always telling of their whole character, right? It heightens certain characteristics and tendencies, that's for sure, but it might highlight things that you need to work on and find strategies for. But it's what was the other thing I was gonna say? Left my brain.
It always does, right, when I'm talking. So feel free to interrupt me. But it reminds me of something that, my ex-husband used to say, just some common saying that he picked up. And it's true to a large degree, is that you never fully know somebody's true character until you go through a divorce. And you could say that about lots of different bad circumstances, like hurricanes and destruction and things like that. And it's like, I don't know, because there's so many, there's definitely, pain and suffering and turmoil and all of the things that you can't control inside of, a situation like a hurricane, like what people are dealing with on the southern coast right now. But it's just different. It's hard to explain why, but it's just different. When you go through divorce, it's not all consuming devastation, like when your home is ripped away from you and or people have died, through hurricanes and this and that, and there's no light right now at the end of the tunnel. That's in a whole different ballpark. Doesn't even relate to what we're talking about. But when you go through something like a divorce or certain illnesses where you have where it seems like you have control, but you really have very little control over the far-reaching effects of these things. You see the different components of people's personality, their true personality come out. As where with like the death and destruction and things like that, it's just small facets, or not small, but a few facets of their personality. As where divorce, it's everything that comes out because you're still living life as you normally would. With hurricanes and natural events, you're not living life as you normally would. So even when COVID shut down everything, now we stopped living as we normally would. So the parts and pieces weren't really a true indication of what you'd see. But once things started opening up and you went back to work and you went to, the grocery store or this and that, you had the ability to live everyday life. Then you start to see people's true personalities come out in the midst of living everyday life. I feel like I'm talking in circles because it's kind of hard to understand, but
I remembered what I was going to say. That it's challenging to do this, but it's important to practice doing this when you're in a stressful situation. Pausing and assessing it to see what can you control in that situation. Mm-hmm. Because there might not physically be something, depending on the circumstances, that you can physically control. But mentally, how you are perceiving it, or just how you react to it. Or it could even just be like, if you feel like everything else in your world is out of control, what's something you can do for yourself to kind of ground you, something you can do and make a commitment to every day. And for me, a lot of times that comes down to my prayer and my workouts. Those are that I can do for myself in this current moment, that I can feel a sense of control and just like accomplishment that I'm taking care of myself. And everything else in the world, who knows, every day is different of what I control and what the circumstances are.
That's just it. I think that with that one question, that's where that's right. One of the initial places that things go awry, because people ask them, okay, what can I control? But we mix that, everything gets jumbled up, that wearing my mask, oh, I can control where I wear my mask. But if you expect that to keep you from getting sick, that's a problem. You can't control whether or not you get sick. You get to control the actions that may have an influence on whether or not you get sick, but you can't control it, right? And that's right. So it doesn't matter. It's the same thing I deal with in weight loss all the time. People get so frustrated. They get on the scale. They get so mad at the scale. They know they can't control their weight, but yet they put their energy and their effort and their frustrations into things like stepping on the scale, or, just all kinds of other things that don't control weight, that your body's in control of your weight, not all these other things that you do, you're in control whether or not you do them. Right? So,
yeah, there's so many factors that go into it. Even the weight example is like, you may be controlling your workouts and your nutrition, but there's other factors in your life of, if you're a female, your hormone cycle, your stress levels from work or family life. Like, there's so many things around you in your environment that can control your actual number on the scale on a day-to-day basis. And so I think it's important for people to, for all of us to just take that into consideration and get in the practice of looking at all the factors that may be influencing. There's a quote at the end of this chapter that I thought was interesting, so I wanted to bring it up. It says, when we have our eyes on God, He keeps an eye on us.
I underlined that one too.
And I liked this line, but I also didn't like this line at the same time, because I think that God always keeps an eye on us. But going back to a section that she was talking about on the previous page, it's when we are obeying God's will and just in tune with his path he has for us, then we're able to hear his directions, and be like tune our ear to his voice. And so I think that's where it comes in. Like, he's always protecting us in some way, guiding us through different circumstances and allowing us to have the resources we need. But we actually have to pick those resources and hear those things and take his guidance. So that line was a love and hate relationship for me. I think it made me think of a couple weekends ago when I was hanging out with my family for my nephew's birthday, and afterward we left, and Sean and I were driving home, and he was like, "Man, like you and Denise always understand what Daniel, who's 2, is saying, and I really struggle with like understand what he's saying. It's, it's like random inflections and mushed together sounds in half words that like part English, right? But when you're around someone and you tuned into what they are trying to say, and the little words and sounds that actually mean something else that sounds very different, you can understand and piece together what they're trying to say, right? But someone who's not used to being around, especially a little kid or someone with a different accent than you, it can be challenging to understand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree. That quote there, I have it underlined too. We all have our eyes on God, or when we have our eyes on God, he keeps an eye on us. That it reminds me of the free will. God's not going to intervene with our free will. That's why he gave it to us. And it's up to us to choose his path or to choose another path. And then it also reminds me of, God helps those who help themselves, things like that, that while he always has our eye on us, that I was always taught that we reap the benefits of our choices, or, we sow the seed, or, you know what I mean? But we reap the benefits or the consequences either way. And those benefits are more plentiful when we're following that path. So it's not that he ever takes the eye off of us, just maybe how much devotion and eye holding that he puts on us. I don't know. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But either way, he's there. And if he's there, why not use him? Right?
Yep.
All right. Well, how about we wrap it up with the prayer? All right, dear Lord, I pray for your hand of protection to be upon me, to keep me safe from any accidents, diseases, or evil influences. Protect me wherever I go. Keep me in safe planes, cars, and any other means of transportation. I trust in your word, which assures me that you are my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my shield, my stronghold, and my strength, in whom I trust. Dear Heavenly Father, help me to remember to trust you, to give all things to you, to let go of the control, to focus on where you want me to focus, and to do things in those areas, to use my time and energy that you gave me in order to do the things that you want me to do. And in knowing that, to help me trust that I will prosper, in your eyes and in your image and in your glory, not through material possessions or money or people or friends and all of those things, but to really prosper in the areas that it matters most. This morning, I want to pray for my friend Tracy as she is dealing with some issues this morning in her life. Just help her to be okay, to grieve in her own way, praying for her friend who's lost their husband. Just hold their hand and let them know that it's going to be okay to trust in you. I want to pray for my youngest kid today as he is continuing to adjust to new life changes, and just helping him to put his control aside and put that faith in you. Michelle?
Good morning, Lord. Thank you, as always, for another beautiful day that we get to be alive and breathing and joining in community with you. I want to continue my prayers for my brother-in-law's mom and her recovery. Just continue to wrap your arms around her and bring her peace and healing. I also want to continue my prayers for myself and my relationship with Sean, that you better our communication and make this lawnmower go away. Always when it's prayer time. That you help me to learn how to communicate better with him and understand him truly as how you have created him to be. Just as we grow closer together in our partnership and grow closer to you, God. I also want to send up some gratitude and prayers for my grandpa, because today is his 90th birthday, and I just want to thank you for allowing him to have the gift of so many years of life and making an impact and influencing so many people throughout his time here on this earth. I thank you for every day that you bless him with and bless our family with him. He has taught me so much over the years, and I'm grateful. It just brings a smile to my face. And so I ask for also just health and safety and a lot of joy and peace as we gather this weekend with my family to celebrate my grandpa's birthday. Just allow it to be a joyful celebration for everyone involved. And I want to continue praying for health and safety, especially for all of us women traveling to the women's retreat coming up in a couple weeks. I'm so excited for that, Lord, and thank you for just guiding our hands in this process of planning. I ask that you continue to do that and just make it a smooth process for what you want it to look like. We bring all this to you in your name, Lord. Amen.
Amen. All right. As always, wonderful discussion. And tomorrow, talking about the wisdom in making decisions. Love that topic too. All right. Join us every day, Monday through Saturday, 9:30ish Eastern Standard Time. And we're out.